Hi everyone, just a quick review of my GSX-S1000. Had the bike since November 2019 or mid-November 2019. I've had 600s in the past, and my other half likes to come out on the back as well, and it means having to work the 600 quite hard, obviously because I've not got a great deal of torque. So I decided to step up to a litre bike, and I was certainly considering it, and then I saw this for sale and really liked the look of it, really liked the matte silver paint. In hindsight, had I have known that the matte paint scheme is the lacquer's 50% weaker, I probably wouldn't have gone for that over the stock gloss, but there we go. I like it. Came with an R11 Yoshi pipe. I've added just a little bit of clear protective film on the back so that when the missus gets on the back, her heel doesn't sort of dig in or scratch the exhaust. It also came with a fly screen. Now, for those of you out there that are considering the GSX-S1000, I personally think that the F version of this looks ugly, and I think this is, for me, a much better looking bike. And also, if you want to keep in mind, if you're considering the F model because of the screen height and the protection, I've actually measured up in terms of the actual height of this the bug screen to the F model, and it's actually exactly the same height. So unless you're going to put an extra long, extra big fly screen on your F model, you're not going to get any benefit over perhaps maybe from the side, from the fairings, but certainly from a protection point of view from the front, they're exactly the same size. So that's the reason why I went for the naked model. Certainly I think it looks a better bike. Right, bits I've added too. So fender extender front and a pyramid, one rear and on the mudguard. Fitted a tail tidy as well to it, just to make it a little bit cleaner at the back. The standard stock one that sticks down as a stalk just looks pretty horrible, pretty nasty. Doesn't do justice to the lines at the back of the bike. I just like the sweeping line at the back of the bike. Kind of looks a bit sort of like a retro Street Fighter. The way that I've designed the bike, the tank is actually really quite high, but you don't actually feel that at all when you're riding it, because your knees are down here, so this is pretty effective. I fitted an Evotech Radiator Guard. I don't know what it is with Suzuki. I know that their fixtures and fittings have never been great, having had GSX-Rs in the past and an SV when I first started. But the radiators on these, particularly the first generation black ones, were atrocious, and they just peel off. All the paint just peels off. So the reason why I bought the Evotech is because on the Evotech, I can get the shadow out there, you can actually, it actually covers the side of the radiator, so you can't see all that horrendous paint that's peeling off, which frankly for a bike that's under 5 years old is ridiculous. Great mechanical grip on this bike, fantastic. I would say the suspension is set up very stiff. Factory settings are really stiff, so have a you probably have to have a tinker around and set up your own static sag and etc., and get it to where you want to and dial it in for what you want to use. But I found the standard settings to be way too stiff. Probably perfect for the track. I mean, you can use this bike as a dual bike if you want to, but for me, my track days are well behind me, and I just want a bike that's nice for the road, commuting, doing it, everything, two up, all sorts. So I've just softened this off a little bit. I've added bar-in mirrors, blanked off the original mirrors holes. I've also fitted Rental Superbike flat bars to do that. So make sure if you want to do that, make sure you use the SW Motec bar risers, and otherwise you won't have enough clearance for the tank. So you'll have to, if you want to run flat bars, you can, but you'll have to use the bar risers to do that. So things I like, definitely the grip, the grunt. You've got for a 150 brake horsepower bike, which is obviously the same sort of power output as their Suzuki's old GSX-S1000. You got a lot more usable torque at the bottom end, and it's very linear. It's very controllable. Thing steps up at 5,000, and then as you get probably to about 7 or 8, the thing just takes off really. If you've not got your traction control setting, if you've got that turned off, you're definitely going to be wheeling quite a bit, which if you want it then fine, but obviously to be legal we want to keep our front wheel on the floor, so that you're not getting into trouble. So I use the traction control, which you see, the only time I see it chiming in is when I'm accelerating hard, and I've never had an issue with the front wheel lifting in those, certainly in the first 2 traction settings. Probably traction 1 you can get it to lift probably a little bit. Tried it without the traction on, and yeah, it'll easily lift, but as I say, that's not something I'm interested in doing, so I put the traction back on. Things I'm not so happy about, brakes. For Brembos you need quite a bit of effort. I've had Nissin brakes in the past on a ZX6R, and they were awesome. These Brembos that have got a Nissin master cylinder that Suzuki have used for a long time, they just don't work that well. You brake, it's all right, it's safe, I suppose, but it's not powerful. They're not powerful. You do need to put quite a bit of pressure into the brake lever to get the thing sort of slowed up. The engine is an absolute peach. Love the engine, love that to bits. That's really nice. The unfortunate thing is Suzuki have let it down with the fact that this is a Euro. Have to comply with Euro 4 emissions. The throttle. If you go out and do a test ride on one of these, quite often when people do test rides they rag it a bit, and you're high in the RPMs and you're on the throttle sort of quite aggressively, and you won't notice this. But if you're like me, wanting to use this as a bike for commuting and doing a variety of different things on, you will find that at holding speed at 30, 40, 50, sometimes even 60 miles an hour, thing just does not want to hold at any kind of set pace. It will be on off throttle, which is a problem that all the majority of manufacturers have problems with on these Euro 4, Euro 5 bikes. And short of what I've been suggested to me is to get it remapped, which I think, quite frankly, considering that these bikes are supposed to be usable bikes in terms of you're not, unless you're riding like an absolute idiot, you're going to have a problem with the throttle on this bike. So if you're riding along at highway speeds, abiding by the speed limits, and you're in traffic, you will have issues with the throttle on this, particularly on the first generation GSX-S1000. I believe that they updated the ECU on the second generation ones, but it's still a bit of a problem. And I believe that now on their Katanas, they've put on a different throttle tube. They've adjusted the cam profile apparently on the throttle tube, so that the Katana model, which is basically a GSX-S with a different sort of bodywork on it, effectively, that's got a different cam profile, and that's a lot smoother apparently. Probably has a slightly different setup ECU as well. So what I did was, in my internet searches, I found that the company called G2 do something they're called a Throttle Timer, which is effectively a aluminium made throttle tube with a different cam profile on the throttle connectors, on the throttle cable connection. So the cam profile is different, so that when you're just coming onto the throttle, you won't have the same jerkiness that you have on the standard throttle tubes, on the standard Suzuki throttle tubes. Now I've literally just fitted my one today and popped some domino grips on, because Suzuki, in their infinite wisdom, on their own throttle tubes, they put a spline in, several splines, so that means you can't actually get the grip off properly, not without destroying the grip. So I bought some sort of there's colour coordinators I get to the bike appropriate without it being horrible. Bought myself some domino black grips with grey inserts on the domino lettering, and put the new throttle tube on, the G2 throttle tube tamer on, and taken out for a ride today to see if it helps. And I'm really pleased to say that it has. It has made I would say we're 3/4 of the way there. It's about a 75% improvement over stock. As I say, consider doing a remap, but quite frankly, why should you have to do a remap of these sorts of bikes when they should be running properly out of the showroom, out of the factory? I just forgot. I also fitted some R&G engine cover protectors. The mushrooms are already there, but I fitted some engine case protectors. So overall, I'm happy with the bike, and certainly really pleased with the fact that the throttle seems to be a lot better on this now. And certainly I would suggest, if you have one of these bikes, and if you can get hold of one, I got hold of this throttle tube second hand, but if you can they're made in the States. If you can either get hold of the G2 throttle tamer, do it. It makes a very positive difference to the bike without having to spend out a huge amount of money on having your bike either have a power commander fitted or having it remapped. Both are expensive options that I didn't want to take. My G2 throttle tamer that I bought off eBay I think I paid 40 quid for it. I think they're about 90 or 100 pounds new, if you can find one. But definitely consider it. It does make, in my opinion, it makes a positive difference to the bike when you're riding at moderate throttle or just on and off throttle. You don't get the same jerkiness. In particular, if you really do like your corners, you won't get that horrible jerkiness when you are trying to get back onto the throttle, coming out of a corner and powering out of the throttle, particularly on a wet road. It's really, really dangerous, in my opinion, on this bike in the past if you're coming out of a corner, and the way that throttle was set up from the factory just is poor. It was poor. So this has made a very positive difference. I hope this helps. If anybody wants any further information on this, or feedback, give me some feedback on it. If you've had a similar situation, or if you potentially want some help, the job is really quick. It only takes about 10 to 15 minutes to change out the throttle tube. I believe the Katana throttle tubes are available. I've seen somebody else do a post in the UK on getting a Katana throttle tube and adding one of those, but at the moment I haven't been able to get hold of anything like that, and that's the reason why I went with the G2 Throttle Tamer. Alright, it's a beautiful day here. I'm just going to get myself back ready again and head back out on the roads to enjoy the afternoon. So enjoy, everybody.